back to the box model. So every HTML element operates as a box element in CSS. So you have 4 different things. You have the margin, padding, border, and content. So let's just open up. Let's open this up. Alright, so I have 4 different elements on here. Well, I have more than that actually, but on my index.html, I have a body with a div that has a class, a container, an h1 and 2 p elements. So pretty standard, just some very basic HTML. First one says sass, the other one says I'm a sassy pants, the other one says yeah. Alright, so we have 3 different elements in there. And now I'm going to check out what the box model looks like. So I'm going to inspect this element over here. And on the bottom right of the CSS, it'll show you the different dimensions and the amount of space on each one. So the amount of margin on here is 100 pixels. And you can see that visually by hovering over that margin area. And that's how much margin is occurring on each side of the element. So margin is the amount of space around the element. So if we just took that out, normally it's going to have, well, by default, H1s have 21 pixels of margin, I guess. So we're just going to set the margin to 0. And now it should be 0. So now there's 0 margin on this. There's 0 border, 0 padding. And the content has a width of 660 pixels by 37. Okay, so the content is the whatever goes in between the element tags. So this is the first one we start off with. So the content goes inside the element tag. So whatever's in here is the content. So sass is the content in the H1 case. Next is the padding. So padding is the amount of space that goes inside of an element. So let's say that you have an element, right? So let's just go with the same sass one. And we put padding, I don't know, like 10 pixels. Now look at that. There's spacing on the inside. So it almost creates like a box. And you can see that in action if I give it a background color. So pink, maybe salmon. There we go. And I give it a padding. And look at that. Now it's like there's more space on the inside coming in, right? So that content has more space surrounding it. Now the difference between padding and margin you can see is if I change the margin to, let's say, 10 pixels, this is the amount of space between this element and other elements around it. And right now the margin is being set to 0. Actually, let's take this out. Okay, so I'm going to take this out. Okay. Set the margin to 100 pixels. And now you can see that this is the amount of space between itself and those things around it. So if I do margin bottom, now it's going to create some space between itself and other elements. I decrease that, and it decreases the amount of space between itself. So it's like essentially, give me this much of boundary. This is how much boundary space I want, and that's what margin does. Padding is like how much space I want on the inside. And then your border is just going to be the border surrounding the element. So let's see, 1 pixel, solid, blue. Let's change that to maybe like 10 pixels so you can see it. And now you can see a border surrounding the element. And the border doesn't necessarily have to be solid. It can be dotted. It can be different colors. And the border doesn't necessarily also have to be square. It can be round. So you can increase that roundness. Just like that. So these are the different elements that go into a CSS box model. And that's why it's called a box model, because it has these 4 different things inside of it. Does anyone have any questions about that, or do you guys already know this stuff? You guys already knew it. Yeah. All right, I figured as much. Okay. So, huh? Okay. So this is duplicate code. All right, so we're gonna start using Jquery. I know you guys started using Jquery at the beginning of this class. So we're just gonna continue into it, and we're just gonna dive deep. So last week you guys finished the Jquery modules, right? Hopefully, from Free Code Camp. So right now I'm just going to explain what Jquery is. So Jquery is a JavaScript library used to make life with JavaScript easier for developers. This works by creating shortcut methods made using JavaScript. So essentially you're saying, okay, I want to create these things in programming, but I want to make it a lot faster and a lot easier to do. With JavaScript, it would normally take 2-3 lines, maybe 4 lines, maybe even more, to do the same thing that you would in Jquery, where it takes like 1 line of code or 1 method that would normally require so much more. So Jquery just makes things a lot easier. Now you're probably wondering, okay, great. It makes things easier, but how does it work? So it works by being included as a single file, either in your directory or stored on a server. Either way, you must link to the file somewhere in your HTML. Once you link to the file, you'll have access to all that Jquery has to offer, and plus it's free. So everything that's included in that Jquery file is all you need to use Jquery. You just go to the Jquery website, download it, and yes. Yes. So Edgar mentioned that you can use Jquery by linking it through Google CDN, or Content Delivery Network. So Google hosts this file for you, and you can just link to Google CDN. And that's another way of using Jquery on your site. All right, so where do you get it? So you can download Jquery and get any of the Jquery documentation by going to jquery.com. And what Edgar was mentioning is CDN Jquery. I'm just going to type that in real quick. Yeah, let me do Google Jquery. That's a good idea. Bless thee. Bless thee. Calm it down. So I'm going to take this. So I'm going to put this option in for you guys. Come on. All right. So if you refresh it, you should see that change. All right, so let's learn Jquery by using it. So I actually have video notes on this that I made. So let's see what the video looks like. I did this at like a coffee shop in Westwood. So let's see how much noise we see from it. I actually just want to test out to make sure all this works. I have 2 views. You guys are in the midst of a star.
Sign my face.
Today we're going to start off with
interesting.
the
Well,
basic
no.
aspects of Jquery.
It's getting very personal now.
I know we've already gone into some JavaScript and Jquery already, so I want to just take you from beginning to end of the different free code cam modules we'll be using. The free code cam modules for this week will be all of the Jquery modules, and it might seem a little overwhelming, but I'm going to take you guys step by step through each one, so hopefully it's not too panicky. Anyway, so let's first start off with your HTML page. So you have a regular HTML page, and the first module talks about how script tags and document ready work. So script tags are used inside an HTML page to render JavaScript. So what happens is the browser takes a look at your HTML page and it sees these script tags, and then it says, okay, now I'm ready to render or parse through JavaScript. And when I say JavaScript, just so you guys can understand me, normally I talk like a little bit more fast-paced,
pretty cool
but I'm trying to stay like paced.
different, essentially, convenience functions that you can use that make JavaScript a lot easier to use. So, for instance, if you had to do something within 5 to 10 lines, jQuery has a method for you to do that. If you had to, I don't know, add CSS to something in JavaScript, it would take several lines, or it might take 2 or 3 lines, whereas in jQuery, it would just be 1 line.
Just listen to it?
Like a few
Just watch
words.
and listen.
So jQuery essentially just makes JavaScript a lot easier.
And I'm going to make some comments along the way.
So right now we're going to go into how the script element works. So again, this free code cam module mentions learning how script tags and document ready work. So
this is going over your homework that you guys did. So hopefully you guys did the free code cam modules, but I want to go over exactly what happened.
So generally I put the script tags
This guy didn't.
before the end of the body.
Laziness.
So just like that. And now we have some script tags. And I can put any kind of JavaScript in here, so I could, put some jQuery, find an element, change the CSS on it. So, we could target this well class, so we could do that. And the CSS would be changed just like that. And I could do something like, change the color a bit. So let's see, color the text to purple. Let's see if that overrides anything.
What are you laughing at?
Yeah,
It's like just
anyway, that's
see if this works.
how you put JavaScript inside
See if anything happens.
these script tags.
You guys follow along, right?
And the reason
They don't really care.
generally be now bottom is in case you don't have a function called document.ready, which we'll get into in a bit. Your JavaScript and your jQuery works directly on the DOM elements in your file. So DOM elements are any of these elements right over here. So you have div, button, div, this h4, div. All of these are DOM objects, right? And if your JavaScript is loaded first before these elements load, then your JavaScript's going to run into an error. It's going to say, hey, I have no idea where this element is, but I want to make changes to it. So generally, you want the document to load first before the JavaScript loads. So pages load from top to bottom, right? So in this case, the div is loading first, then the h3, then the div, all the way to the end with this closing div, and then you want the JavaScript to load, because once the once the HTML and CSS is done loading, then you can start implementing any changes that you want on those elements once they exist. Okay, so now that we have these script tags, why don't we...
So again, the reason that we're using these script tags on the bottom is because we want to make sure that the HTML and CSS, the DOM elements load first, and then we want the JavaScript to load, right? Because you can't make the JavaScript work on elements that don't exist. All HTML, CSS, and JavaScript load from top to bottom. So generally, they load from whatever you tell it to load from top to bottom, right? So if it's all running simultaneously, it's loading HTML, CSS, and JavaScript simultaneously from top to bottom, and the JavaScript is saying, hey, I want to act on this HTML, but the HTML hasn't been done loading, it's like somewhere down here, then this JavaScript is going to run into an issue, right? It's going to run into an error. It's going to say, oh, what the hell's going on? I don't see this element, so there's an error. So you let the JavaScript actually run last. So that's why you put the JavaScript on the very bottom, right? Because you want the HTML and CSS to run and load first. And then you make the JavaScript run.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Order of operations, simple as that.
Yeah.
First comes first.
Yes.
We'll move on to document.ready. So the document.ready function over here, it says to add this.
It's a hippo.
Now, the document.ready function is actually really cool because it basically makes it so you don't actually have to put the script tags at the bottom. You can just put the script tags anywhere.
That's nice.
And your jQuery JavaScript will only run once your document is done loading. So it's going to actually say, okay, wait for all the HTML and CSS to load, and then we'll start running this JavaScript. And that way you don't have to worry about, did I put the JavaScript script tags on the bottom, or whatever, is there an issue with that? This takes care of that. So we're just going to add that in.
you guys didn't believe that I was a coffee shop.
Okay, so you do something like that. You
I
just
sound really boring in this on
Jquery
purpose
Option
again.
over here.
So hopefully the background noise will make it less sleepy. Or if you guys need someone to help you put to sleep.
Hey, wait, let's see. Let's actually get a real.
I need you to turn on politics. I need to put that.
Maybe
Ah,
change the HTML
you use that. My cousins actually call me sometimes and say I need help going to sleep. Talk to me about programming.
to.
They're assholes.
On the right hand side, it's change blah 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 blah. I just didn't actually say blah blah blah, but let me write blah blah blah. Okay. Cool.
So you can see the changes over here on the right hand side. This is why I use free code count too. So it actually shows the changes that I'm making on the right hand side over here on this screen. So I think I'm going to do this with each one of your homework assignments. I'm going to go through each one of the problems afterwards, and then I'm going to upload a video for it.
Where you're able to
So that way you guys have a reference.
target all the
Good idea, bad idea?
um,
You guys like it?
that
I like
have
it.
I
a
can watch it
specific
anytime,
selector.
right?
Yeah,
And then
it's on the YouTube.
methods
And you guys can help make me popular with at least 3 or 4 views.
I like how you said it. It's on the
HTML,
YouTube.
It's on
all
the
developments.
internet.
What you could do is use
You guys
the
can
Jquery selector
surf
or
the
delete
web.
selector because they like to be kind of funny. And you just put those quotes in there. So now you have a Jquery object, just like that, with that $sign, 2 parentheses, and these quotation marks. And where the fuck is it? Okay, so now just
I guess I'm gonna get that one.
different ways of selecting elements.
Time to go
Ways
censor.
and element selector, other ways of classifying, another way an ID selector. There's other ways of doing it through attributes as well. We'll just focus on these 3. Element selector, so selecting it based on the element type. So div, h3, h4, paragraph, button, any of those. So now this selects all the div elements. It'll find all the div elements and stores them in an array, actually. So it's an array of Jquery objects. It's going to find each one, and then whatever change we make, it's going to make it to all of those. So let's just change that to meow, meow, meow. Let's see what happens. Now look at that. Now we just changed everything that was div to have a text that meow, meow, meow. And of course, that messes everything up. So we're just going to remove that. That doesn't make any sense. So instead, we are, let's see, well, I don't want to give away what to do in this exact one, but that's the general gist of how to use the element selector. So let's move on to the next one. So again, before I move on, just in case, you start off with a bling sign, parentheses, and from there, that's it. That's just how you create the selector. So this will just select, whatever you want, like a button. Let's just select every button. And then you can implement methods on it. So let's say like HTML is a method, add class is a method. And this only works on Jquery objects. So again, to create a Jquery object, just that weird $sign thing that they call a bling operator, along with these parentheses and the quotation marks, which encapsulate the selector. Cool. And eventually it's going to load.
To make it a little bit more fun, you guys can try and guess what songs are in the background.
Right, it's still loading, that's fine. Alright, so we have target elements by class, ID. Okay, so then, again, it's the same thing. So target elements by class is like, let's say we're trying to target this well. We just do dot well. And then by ID, let's see, we're trying to target this left well, and has an ID of left well, so we just do left well.
So all I'm doing is targeting this element called
So ID
left. Well, it's a div that has an ID of left well. So that's what I do.
So now let's go
And that's it.
delete your Jquery functions.
That was a really dumb module. All you do is literally delete them.
So
Like
the
just
same, just
delete.
delete all these. Okay.
Okay.
That was easy. I don't know why it asked you to delete that. That was kind of pointless. Yeah, so how you delete stuff is you use the delete button. I think you guys already know how to do that. Hopefully.
No, I mean that was just totally
Why?
tied to the button. So I mean, that's just how you use add class.
Yeah.
It's
feel
kind
like
of a
it's in
pointless
the movie.
exercise, but
Ladies and gentlemen, John Williams.
so you have a button, and you wanna do add class, and let's say that you want to add a class called animated. Well, that's it. That's literally it. And now if you want to do it for the other ones, you're more than welcome to do so. Again, I'm just going to give an example first, so instead of giving away the answer, I want you guys to work on that on your own. But what this will do is it'll actually add a class into your HTML with the class of animated to anything that has a button selector. Alright.
Yeah, so I went over the concepts and how to do each one. I'm not sure if I should give you guys the actual answer.
Oh, it's the week after. You might as well.
Yeah, but I think I did this like
Removing
before
classes from
the
an
week was over,
element
so
is as simple as using the
I don't know,
remove class method. So let's say that you have.
I'd rather have like the concept so that you guys can be like, oh, that's how you do it, and then you guys figure it out on your own. I essentially give you guys the answer. I mean, it's like you just copy that
I'm
with
just gonna
whatever
use
it's telling you to
div.
do.
So I'm just gonna remove all. Let's see, remove class.
It's so weird watching.
It's pretty simple. You just use this flow remove class. So send it an argument by whatever you want to remove the class of. So let's say that you want to remove this from all divs. So this would be this. And now after removed all those divs, and it looks horrible now, but hey, it's removed. So they're showing very specific examples. Change the CSS of an element using Jquery.
This one's actually really important,
useful, especially for designers. Okay, so you can change the CSS of an element directly with Jquery. So I did this earlier, but I didn't really go into it. So here we go. So here's some code for that right now. So let's say that you wanted to change the CSS of this target one to blue. So they did that for us. So all you do is, again, you use a selector. This time you're using an ID selector. It starts with this hashtag. Then you use a CSS method, and you pass it an attribute, property and a value. So it has to be a CSS property and a CSS value. These have to be valid. So you have like a color, which is a property, and the value of that property is blue. So now you change the target one from its original black to blue.
Oh yeah, are you guys answering the discussion questions on the web Facebook page?
There's a Facebook page?
Sorry.
Is that this?
Before I forget, yeah.
Yeah. What is that?
Hold on, I want to like a Facebook page. I want to do
Damn it. Okay. I want you guys to make up your discussions. So you guys are part of the Interaction Design 2, which is also the Web Design 2 one.
Where is this at?
Okay. I thought I added you guys, didn't I?
Nope. Oh, the other class. We weren't that cool yet.
Yet.
But we are now. You're thinking about it.
Yeah. Okay. So let me put you guys in. So I want you guys to answer these questions that are in here. Come on.
I have access to this even after the term is over?
Yes.
Oh, sick.
Yeah. So there's people in here from like 2 years back. Let's see. Frank, are you already in here?
Should be.
Okay. Oh my god, this internet is just. I think it's my computer that's just going really slow.
Because the other thing taking 20%.
It was, but then it stopped taking 20%. Alright, Edgar.
Hi.
Chakun?
Yep, that's the one.
Okay, sent you an invite. Lydia.
Yeah, I think I'm on it.
Oh, you already.
Oh my god, I already got it. I'm gonna join.
Okay. Friend since 2016.
Let's go up on
How
the
the times
Facebook, right?
go by. Lucas. Friend since 2016 as well. Okay. Yeah, so you guys are
Man,
on
where is this time? When? It's been like a week.
the whole week.
I got it.
Another phone.
I'll think about it.
You will get, that's another 10% of your grade, you guys. So just answer these questions. They're so easy. And it's like, What's your idea for a web app?
Do we have to like send it to you in the mail or just comment on it?
Just comment. It's literally just a forum. So I just ask questions and you guys answer them.
You know, we could just copy paste it in the system.
No, because I can see that. It's so easy to check against.
You haven't asked a question since April 18th.
You guys forget that I went to college. You don't think people tried to cheat at Berkeley?
Alright, if I change that to like purple. So I don't know if you guys are colorblind. That might not make a huge difference. Let me use like orange. There you go. So now you can see the obvious difference between the text. Alright. Alright. You can also disable an element using jQuery. And this actually sets the attribute disabled to true.
You're asking a question.
Does it? Does it? True?
Because I don't think I've ever used this property before. Or this method, sorry.
So this sets the property of elements by using the method called prop, which stands for property, and it allows you to like, call different properties and values and set the different properties and values of elements themselves. I don't really call it properties because these are actually attributes. Properties are used mostly for CSS, but whatever. So you have this property, right? So you have disabled, and you set this to true, and this will make all buttons disabled. So that's what they're mentioning over here. So that's simple enough. And if you want to disable only the target one button, what would you do? If this would disable all of the buttons, then it would be pretty simple to actually just disable the target one, right? Because then you just change the selector. So I'll let you guys work on that. It's probably a lot of ambient noise, but hopefully it doesn't interfere with this. We'll find out.
It doesn't seem to, right? Take a nice little.
Text inside the element using jQuery.
It's kind of good background noise to have.
You can
If
actually
it's completely
change
quiet, it'll be too boring.
Any of the text inside any of these
I didn't
elements.
even notice.
So the content
Yeah,
of
it's like
this
a nice
element,
about it.
Yeah.
using the text selector. So let's say that you want to change. Well, they're using HTML. We can use text for HTML. So in this case, they want to use HTML. So we'll use that. There's two different methods. One called HTML, the other one's called text. So let's say that you have an element with let's just select the H4s. And now inside the H4s, I'm going to put a P element, and I'm going to put yo gabba gabba.
Really?
That's what I put.
And look at that. Now we have yo gabba gabba put inside there. Pretty cool.
I would never show my kids that shit.
Remove an element using jQuery. Okay.
Is this one simple?
So now let's
Yep.
remove an HTML element for your page using jQuery. So you can actually remove the entire element. Let's say that you're like, oh, well, if a user clicks on something, then I want to remove this entire element from the page. So let's try and remove both H4s. So we want these to disappear completely. Not hide them, just actually delete them. You generally don't use this function, but we're going to use it right now just in case you guys wanted to in the future at some point. So I have H4, and we have remove, and as simple as that, and now they're gone. Easy. Okay. Use append
this free code camp will do that, will actually just freeze. But can you guys see where my mistake is?
I want to move target 4 from our right well to our left well. It's not showing up though.
Really find my mistakes.
Let's delete
What's
that.
in this?
Oh, that's because we have target 4 is being removed. So
Yeah.
why don't we
Right? So I removed it
get rid
before,
of that?
so
Yeah,
it
target
didn't
4.
exist. Even though it existed in my HTML, it didn't
There
actually
we go.
exist.
So now we
because
see
jQuery
the
acted.
element move. So sorry, before what was happening was the element was actually deleted, and then I caused it to reappear again by just removing that remove element, and then I ran the append to function. So as simple as that. Cool. Let's move on to the next section.
So I want you guys to think about how you can use these different methods. So like,
Alright,
they
so
give you the ability to use these methods, but you come up with like creative ways to use them. And we're going to go into different ways you can use them too. And I'm going to go over those today.
And to do that, you literally just type in this dot clone, and then you can append it to something else. This isn't that popular, but if you want to move elements by copying them, you can do that too. So let's say that you wanted to copy one of these elements and then use it somewhere else. You could do that using this clone. I'm not really going to get into that just because it's not that widely used. Okay, so targeting parent and child relationships between elements is actually really important. So every HTML element has a parent element from which it inherits properties. For example, this div inherits from this body inherits from this HTML element, etc. So the child element of body is div, and then this h3 is under this, and so they're all children of parents and parents of children. And
If I
guess since this
they actually did studies on that. On the distraction
So if you use this jQuery function called parent, it allows you to access the parent of whichever element you've selected. So here's an example of how you use the parent function if you wanted to give the parent element of the left well element a background color blue. So you have this left well element over here, and you want to give it its parent, and its parent is...
Ooh, this one's actually pretty important.
Now you know it's its parent because it's contained, see this div? It's contained within this other div, so that means this is its parent. Its immediate parent. So you just say left well.parent, and let's see what happens. And it has a color blue. So now this this div over here has a color blue. So you just targeted the parent. Cool. Now target the children. This sounds like a terrible thing to do. It sounds like very genocidal and something that a ruthless lord would do or something like that, but we're actually just targeting the children elements of any of these other elements. So you have this element over here, which is a child of this. These are then in turn the child of this. So we now want to target these children from the parent element. So let's say that we have left well, right? And you want to target its children. Where are its children? This feels like Blue's Clues, where it's like, where's the clue? Alright, so the elements that the children are of this parent are right over here. So these three are children of this parent element. So you can change all of these to be color blue, all these buttons, by just targeting the parent and then using the children. And look at that, now all of them are blue. They're targeting each one of these using this children left one. Pretty cool.
Am I the only one who watched Blue's Clues? I love that show. It's a great show.
Alright, so you can target a specific child of an element using jQuery as well, using this nth child pseudo class. Now what that does
is
is essentially
this a lot,
saying,
actually.
okay, so I don't want to just target all of them. I want to target a specific one of these children. So let's say that you have, in this case, they're saying, okay, target, so targets any one of these.
And this one you might want to pay attention to one because I don't think you know this one.
The third target. So 1, 2, 3. Give it a class of animated bounce. So if we did that, now only the third target of each one should bounce, right? So it should be target 6 and target 3 should bounce. So let's see if that works. So yeah, so the bottom ones bounce. Cool. They've been moved around because of all this crap that's going on. Essentially, the bottom ones move. So we're just targeting just the last ones in each one of these.
So the nth child is, you're saying like
And I'm just gonna delete
only
this
this
first.
one. So the nth is the third. So
Is it only conflict?
third child. Nth it stands for whatever you give it. It'll be
There we go.
that.
So target 3 and target
That will
6.
replace the n.
Okay.
So it's a math term. You guys remember basic math, like when you talk about the nth or an n number, an n number of items.
Yeah.
Yeah. So an n number of items means like an x. It's the same thing as like an x number of items kind of thing.
And you can also target even numbered elements in jQuery. So again, the pseudo class allows you to do not just nth child, but you can just do odd or even. So you can select like every other one. So every second element, fourth element, etc. So let's say that you want to do an even one. We can make
This one's actually counterintuitive because it uses index.
every even element shape. So 2, 4, 6. And we did that because, oh, sorry.
So why is only 1, 3, and 5? Because
Animated shape.
indexing starts at 0.
Oh, sorry. This is 0 indexed. So 0 indexing means that the counting starts at 0. So the first element is actually at 0. The next one is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So when it's even, it's actually targeting 0, 1. So it's targeting this one. So 0, 2, 4. Even though it says 1, 3, and 5, the reason is because indexing, again, this 1 is actually a 0 inside the computer, this is actually a 2, and this is actually a 4. It's stupid as hell. I don't understand why they don't just use regular indexing instead of zero-based indexing. They use it all over the place, and it confuses the crap out of me sometimes too. Okay. And finally, we can use jQuery to modify the entire page. Yeah. So this is like if you wanted to go like buck wild and just modify everything. You can just use this, and it would just change everything on the page. That's just based on the selector that you're using. So I'm using a selector called body, and that allows you to change everything in the page, right? Because everything's inside body, right? Everything's going to be inside this body tag. All right, so that's it. I'm going to be compressing this and then uploading it to YouTube and then sending it to you guys. If you guys have any questions, email me, let me know. All right, take care.
All right, bye, Omar.
That was a dick.
All right, take a 15-minute break, guys.
So what's funny was, I looked at your homework, and I only did the layouts. I'm like, oh, okay, I thought that was like your credits. I totally forgot that you were like, yeah, free code camp. I'm like, FCC is something. I'm like, okay, so maybe he's being compliant with something because he's using some other stuff I didn't know. I totally had skipped over today.
That's what you're supposed to do every week. Every week there's 2 things.
That's what happens when you halfway listen in the class beforehand.
That's what happens, exactly. Thank you for letting me know. So every day, you guys are supposed to, every week you're supposed to do what? Free CodeCamp modules and your project update. Make sure you guys do that. Yeah. Those 2 things, every week. Yes, do you have a question?
The project stuff we're doing?
Hmm?
What's the project?
What?
What's the project? Project update?
Oh, yeah. You weren't here last week, huh? Okay, so
you're gonna be doing your own
when we
website.
switch it over, we're actually now building a, just like for Interactive Media 2, we're building a web application.
Okay.
But we're going to be adding a lot more jQuery and stuff like that. Yeah. So you're going to actually be learning stuff. Right now it's going to be easy peasy, but we're actually going to be implementing code snippets that are more widely used. So we're going to be dissecting and implementing code snippets, and then actually doing a lot more coding. I'm getting hands dirty. With Jquery.
Alright, my wireframe. I've never done one yet.
That's good.
Yeah.
Actually, ask Juan for wireframing because he is better than I am at design. So the design students will tell you more about wireframing than I can actually.
Okay.
I know more about the coding aspects.
How
What was that
horrible is my
website?
wireframe?
Wasn't it? Didn't you send us a site to use wireframe?
Yeah, wireframe.cc.
There you go.
Yeah, but he wants to know exactly how wireframe is supposed to look. You guys have taken entire classes on wireframe.
Oh.
I mean, I know how to wireframe, but my wireframing is not as design based as it is more engineering based.
Let me look for the PDF then in my class. I'll show you.
So, but that's why I have design students usually take this class. So you're not a design student, so it's like, for you to ask me, it's like I'm going to give you the engineering way of wireframing. It's not going to be as
Even
aesthetic.
better for me.
Well, it might
I
not be.
understand it better.
Yeah, but it might not be the best way of like doing it in terms of like creating a website or something. For me, it's like I like to create the structure, content, style, and then I build it. But I usually have a designer with me who creates the assets and who does like a lot of the mock-up, and I build it. So that's how I work. I worked as a software engineer, doing mostly like back end heavy stuff.
Right.
So then I teach like the front end stuff, but then like the light front end stuff, which is like the design and all that stuff, that's the designers tend to do. So that's why this works perfectly for me, because you guys already know that stuff. We'll need some water.
It's actually a bad idea.
It's a terrible idea.
Why, you don't like all the minerals in the pipes?
Come on, you need my time.
was this like binocular game. Like it would completely cover my face, and it was like tanks. And I was a tank commander.
Oh shit, we had a virtual boy.
Is that what it was?
A virtual boy, yeah.
And my mom was like, "No, you're gonna destroy your eyes that way." And it's like, damn it.
You're probably right with those virtual boy. That's why they discontinued it. Started giving people cataracts or something.
No, it wasn't that. This wasn't it. It was just like, it was like one of those solo game things. Like it'll be like the a self console, but with just one game in it.
Oh.
Tanks.
It's so weird coming from that to reality.
Oh, there it is. I found it. I can't believe I found it. Holy shit. What was that thing?
Oh.
That was hella fun though. How can I get it? How can I get it? It's like $20. Phony.
Yes. I scored. By 2. Yeah.
Monster. Best Buy. Good to know.
This is actually kind of addicting. Maybe somebody will buy it.
Can I wait another 18 hours?
For what?
My laptop. Or can I should I just drive over there now and pick it up?
Well, 15-minute break is almost over. We would have lost out.
No, it's not. It's a Montebello. Should I leave class at 8?
Oh, you missed class last week.
Yeah.
Most likely class is going to end at 8 today. He's kind of going slow today, huh?
I don't know. He's doing something.
Let me see how much more is left on this thing. Because he showed us that fucking video and that took an hour. Nope. We got a bit of a ways to go. Got quite a few discussions. Today's class is going to push on.
Oh well, I absolutely not. soon as I launched the game. He's like, it might take longer.
Wait, who?
What? He got back as soon as I launched the game.
Oh, League of Legends?
No.
Which one?
It's kind of like Smash Brothers, but it's indie Smash Brothers.
Oh, interesting. What's it called?
It's called Ether, something with Ether.
I want to make
Okay, interesting.
gold 3D models. And on the mobile platform.
Rivals of Ether, that's what it's called.
You heard of Mugen?
Mobile games.
You heard of Mugen?
Mugen?
Yeah, it's like the open source fighting game.
I think so. What can I say? Start. Like about the game. Then find a glitch.
Yeah, Mugen is literally like every game put together. Like every game character. Let's see if we have some good Mugen.
Mugen gameplay.
Yeah, they'll have like Shaq. Like random people.
Want to see VR game I put together, Professor?
Sure, let me just put this up real quick because I want to just show this off.
Stop tagging me.
I should take a look at yours on the next break.
Sounds good. Looks like we have a lot ahead of us today.
Yeah, but I think I'm gonna actually skip the implementation because you guys already did that last week and we already just went over it.
Oh, so we might be able to get there today anyway.
I could pick up my laptop today if I wanted to. That's a drug's found power.
Really?
I have to get it before 9 now.
Now look at this. It's Pokemon Trainer. It's like anyone versus anyone. Doesn't make any sense.
What? Just a random.
It's like Yoshi, like any
hell?
character.
Man, kudos to anyone who did those sprites.
Yeah, oh, it's like an open source thing, so it's like people will just randomly will create these sprites and characters and all these different things.
It doesn't even fit. It's going off stage. It doesn't even match.
Yeah, it's really stupid. Bruce Lee was in the video.
Help us, Obi-Wan! Oh my, goodness gracious me. What? Toa Nuvas? Those are Bionicles.
Yeah.
That's Tahu and Gali. I know my Bionicles, man.
Oh my god.
I used to love Bionicles. I still have them all.
It's like the Lego stuff, right?
Yeah.
Lego robot with masks.
Smackdown.
Is that Rey Mysterio?
Yeah, I've never seen a Batista. Sonic.
Sonic.
Give the cover.
It doesn't make any sense.
Who's the animator?
It's called Game Master.
I don't know what that is.
Mr. Bear versus Sandman.
Who's Mr. Bear? It's just a bear. It's just a bear.
It's very sick.
Mr. Sandman.
What? Oh, Thor. Okay, who the fuck is this?
Givers Gengar?
You guys are the ass kick. Come on, Gengar. No. Oh no. Gengar,
no.
please. Hypnosis.
Is it Clefairy?
We need Pokemon.
Alright, you bastard.
We do. It's called poking. combine Pokemon with Tekken.
Oh, that's pretty dope.
Is it on PC?
It's not coming out yet. It's available in Japan in arcades, so it'll be out in consoles.
No, it's out on the Wii U only.
Good?
It's already out.
For the Wii U, ready?
Only Wii U. Yeah. It's exclusive.
No, Seto Kaiba.
Oh, dude, this is pretty raw.
It's pretty sick, dude. Oh, that's from the Yu-Gi-Oh!
This is Yu-Gi-Oh?
Yeah, Kaiba's
Oh
Yu-Gi-Oh!
my god!
Oh, it is Kaiba.
Holy crap.
There's a Sailor Moon.
What is she doing?
Being a Sailor Moon slut. I like how the blue-eyed, like, white dragon protecting women's
Yeah, I didn't even realize that.
What the hell?
What?
And Monk versus... What?
I have no idea.
The balloon.
With the wings, it's a bat balloon.
It ate him.
What?
Lotus Master Astro versus...
White.
I don't know. I don't even know who these guys are.
I like how he spells white.
It's just white.
No, how do you spell it?
I want to do 30 more seconds and I want to get back to teacher.
W-I.
W-A.
Oh, look. Oh, that's H. W-H-I-C.
Oh. See, I'm blind. That's why I'm just in the front row.
Well, I just want to see what next fight. No, oh no, we've seen these characters already.
What? But it's two of them to get. What? It's like
That's
Magneto.
too much going on.
It's Magneto and Juggernaut versus Abyss and that one.
bitch.
And the Sentinel is in there right now too. Alright, how's this guy's frame rate's not like hitting negative?
Oh, because it's a 2D game, dude.
I know, but like this is still so much happening.
Yeah, it's insane.
It's all probably done on a tag basis.
Yeah, this is Mugen. You guys should look up Mugen. Anyway, so
That's right. Nice.
So this is actually learning jQuery by using it, but I think since we already gone over all the concepts and you guys have already done this last week, we can actually just skip this. This is mostly from like Interactive Media 2 that really needs this. But for Web Design 2, you guys should have already done this last week, and this is just like a review that I already went over. So instead, we're going to move on to
Nothing, that's it.
popular ways of using jQuery.
Okay.
So, snippets. So first off, there's a lot of jQuery snippets out there. So you guys now know the basics of jQuery. You guys know some existing methods. You guys know how to manipulate different things. And now we're going to go into some snippets that we can use. So there's a lot of snippets available in a lot of different sites. So let's go to some of those right now. Oh, sure. Yeah. So we're going to go to jQuery snippets. So CSS Tricks is a great site if you want snippets for HTML, CSS, Sass, htaccess, JavaScript, WordPress, PHP. So we're going to go to jQuery right now. And these are all different things. So if you want to check for empty elements, these are all different functionalities that you can do using jQuery. So compare jQuery objects, cycle through a list, clear a file input, check if jQuery loaded, equalize heights of div. So many other things that exist in here. And let's choose one. So image preloader. So if you want to preload images, what happens is these images will load at the beginning of your page, so that when someone hovers over an image, it won't take time to load. It'll immediately be able to hover between images. So this is a jQuery function to do that. Now, this jQuery function uses some complicated JavaScript in there. So the parts that you guys understand so far are this dot attribute. So that's jQuery, and then this part right here, right? But the rest of this might look kind of funky. So this one's a little bit too complicated, so let's go to a different one for now. Sticky footer. No, this one's really complicated. Huh?
So that footer always stays at the bottom.
Yep. So there's a lot of different like jQuery functions that you guys can do, but unfortunately I haven't gone over like the jQuery concepts that you guys need to understand in order for you guys to use a lot of these. So I want to go into it really slowly and not just like break into all the different JavaScript concepts before doing that. Let me see if we can use any that aren't too complicated. Nope, you still use. Oh, this one's not too bad. But it's using this one using array, if statement, and a function. So I think all these are going to use functions. So let's see. Yeah, so I think that we need to go over some of these concepts before we try and like implement any of these. I just want you guys to like get an understanding of what these are first. So these are different jQuery snippets. So here's some more 10 handy and reusable jQuery code snippets. Just wondering what would be the best way for you guys to get into it. I think to start off with, I think we should use plugins. And next week, I'm going to start going to more JavaScript concepts that we'll use in conjunction with jQuery. So here's some stuff right here. Okay, so smooth scrolling to the top of the page. So this is actually pretty easy. So these 4 lines will allow your visitors to smooth scroll to the top of the page simply by clicking a link. So what it'll do is, when you like click on a link and it has, instead of a URL, it goes to an ID of an element. Have you guys done this before? Has anyone not done this before? Yeah, it's a hashtag, right? It's a pound sign. Yeah. So what it does is you do something like this. No, you don't subscribe. God damn it, Bobby. Oh, that's on the recording, by the way, now. But Dad. He sounds like he has like throat cancer. Goddamn, no, I'm talking about them dang old big, you know what I'm saying? Big old. What is he? Damn. Yo. Okay. Funny thing is, they don't like Hank Hill impressions in the South. I did that and they got really upset. I don't know why. This is really odd. It's like, oh, you guys don't watch King of the Hill? So, oh, that's so sad. I don't think anyone watches the Cleveland show. My name is Cleveland Brown. Cleveland Brown. Oh no, oh no, oh no. Is that what he sounds like? Sounds something like that, right? Like, yeah, there you go. That is good. Okay. So we have this. I'm going to try to implement it. So I want you guys to open up your guys' projects, and we're going to try implementing some of these snippets now. Your project. You son of a gun. Okay. So I'm just setting up a test project for myself real quick. I have a terrible song stuck in my head. And I won't say it to save you guys. How'd you know? Were you singing it?
No.
I hate you. Were you singing it?
No.
That's literally the song I had stuck in my head. You were singing it, weren't you?
It's a terrible song, and I'm like, what could be more terrible? Than
That's the terrible song I have stuck in my head right now.
And your other song, Samurai. Was it Butterfly?
I don't know.
Everyone sing on Mobari Girl.
Top.
Yeah. So funny, but makes a lot of money off of their stupid song. Whoa, your soap is like 15 different places right now.
Why I made a Facebook for it. I mean, why I didn't want Facebook. Other than accept if you're right.
That should have worked better. Oh, because I don't have jQuery included, do I? Or do I? I do. So why didn't it work? Make this work. Anything with an href with the top attribute. Oh, that's why I didn't. It's not. There we go. Oh, come on. There we go. Now it works. Super smooth, right? All right, so I just implemented this functionality real quick. So it might. I would have done it really fast just because I've been doing this for a while. But what I did was I copied and pasted this code from here, and this is smooth scrolling to the top of the page. So I just copied this code, and I dissected it, and I said, okay, what is it doing? So first thing it's doing is the selector here looks really confusing, but it's saying any anchor tag that has an attribute of an href with a value of $top. Now, what does $top stand for? What does it actually mean?
It's saying to go to the div or whatever element has that, I guess, the top ID.
Yeah, so this is just the top ID, right? So what I did was I just put that on here. So I just gave it the ID top. And now what happens is I created this element that it's looking for. So I said, okay, so I need to make an anchor element with the href equals top. And I just put these in p tags. I didn't even have to put these in p elements. I could have just done this. Oh, this one, sorry. And you see this little clickable link on the bottom that I created. So that's all there is. All I did was create this right here. And now if I click on this, it smoothly takes me to the top of the page. So that's pretty cool, right? And that's because of this jQuery right over here. So this jQuery actually works by saying, okay, I didn't go over this method yet. This method is called click. It's an event listener. Event listeners wait for you to perform an event, and then once you do this event, or once this event happens, then it'll run a function. So this event listener, click, takes an anonymous function. An anonymous function just means a function without a name. And then in this case, this function works as a wrapper. So it just runs whatever code you're telling it to. And that's what a lot of event listeners do. They say, run this code, and that's it. So when this event happens, run the following code. That's it. So now we clicked on this little button over here, right? So at the very bottom, I wrote sass, 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 sass. I'm a sassy pants. Yeah, yeah, yeah. All right. So now at the very bottom, I click on this button, and what happens? Scrolls to the top, but at a very slow motion, right? That's because this function then takes in, okay, it's saying animate. So animate's another method that we haven't gone over because jQuery has tons of method. Animate allows you to create an animation in your DOM from one point to another. So it's saying, scroll to the top where 0 is the position, and it takes in another argument that says how fast you want it to go. Now you can put this as milliseconds also, so you can say take 3,000 milliseconds. And now if I refresh this, so it'll be 1, 2, 3. So now that's really slow, right? So let's maybe make this 1,000 milliseconds. 1,000 milliseconds is how many seconds? Yes. So now it goes faster, right?
Excuse me, can you make it faster than that?
Yeah, so you just decrease this time, right? So you just make it 500 now. So now it's going to go twice as fast. Now look at that. Right? If you make it 0, then what do you think is going to happen, guys? It should just jump up. It shouldn't look like there's any animation at all, right? Like that.
What it would do without that.
Exactly. So if you didn't have this animation, it defeats the purpose of the animation. So let's just leave it around maybe 500 seconds or 500 milliseconds. Was that good? Yeah, that's pretty good. All right. And then we're going to set the return to false. Cool? So that's how you use one of the jQuery snippets. So that's just, we just dissected it. Now normally you guys can just copy and paste this in. You don't really have to worry about too much about what it does in the beginning. I want you guys to just get used to like copy pasting this kind of code in to your project and understanding how to use it. We're not using tables yet, so we don't really worry about that. Load external content. Yeah, this is Ajax. I don't want to use Ajax yet. Maybe we'll get into that like next week or the week after. Columns, we don't have tables yet. We don't have tables. Partial page refresh. We don't have Ajax. Preload images. Yeah, this preload images, we're going to have to go into what loops are. So we won't go into that yet. Well, this is... Okay, all right. Okay. So this one's pretty good. So this code snippet, so target equals blank is an attribute. So target's an attribute and blank is the value. If you give an anchor tag, so anchor tags are links, right? You guys all know what anchor tags are? The hrefs, right? Okay, if you give it an attribute of target equals blank, what happens to that link? How does it open up?
In a separate tab.
It opens up in a separate tab, right? If you leave it alone, what happens if you don't put the target equals blank?
In the same page.
It'll open up in the same page. So it'll, instead of taking you to a different tab, it'll then just redirect to wherever you want it to go in that same page. So this is really important because you sometimes don't want users to, exit from the page, or, instead of replacing your page with a different page, you want to know, okay, if this page is an external link, then make this link go to a new tab. Otherwise, if it's inside my site, then okay, open it inside this page. So again, if we want external links to open up in new tabs and internal links to open up in the same tab, instead of adding this target blank, we're going to use this jQuery function to do that for us automatically. So this is a programmatic way of doing it. So it says, okay, this is using the each function, and that's looping. All right, so each is a method, and this each, what it does is it goes through every single jQuery object that you've selected, right? So let's say that you have 10 anchor tags in your project, right? Let's say there's 10 of these. There's like only one right now, but let's say we created like 10 or... create a bunch of these, right? So actually, how many did I create? Like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Close enough. There's 9 of them, right? It's going to go through each one, and on each one, all this code is going to run. Okay? So that's what the each does. And it makes sense, because it's like each one of these run this function on it. So an anonymous function just says run whatever code is here, right? I want you guys to think of that. Whenever you guys say like anonymous function like that, it usually is just like run this code. Okay, so just run whatever code's in here. So it's saying var a. So this is a new variable equals. Oh god, regular expressions. I won't go into what regular expressions are, but essentially there are ways of finding things. So it's finding the location and the host. And if it's saying, and then it's doing an if statement. Again, this is going to be way too hard for you guys to understand without going into it. So basically, this functionality basically checks to see if your link is internal or external. If it's internal, then it'll open up on the same page. If it's external, then it's going to open up on a different page. Yeah. Sorry, I'm trying to get you guys into this without having to learn too much. Like, immediately just start working on it, but there's just so much to learn before you got to do some other stuff. This one was actually a good example over here, because you were able to do this without having to learn too much new stuff. Password strength, we don't even have passwords. Image resizing, that's going to be too much. Okay, so we can do one of those right now. Okay, so let's see. Team Treehouse also has a bunch of other handy jQuery snippets. Let's see how many of these we can use for right now. Smiling guy with a bunch of hair. Ah, here's an easy one. Hover. So hover takes two arguments. So every function takes in two arguments, right? Or not every function takes in two arguments, sorry. Every function takes in arguments. And that replaces the parameters. We went over functions early in this course, but I'm going to go over functions again. So remember, there's two ways of using functions, right? Functions can be used as wrappers. Remember, like the wrappers meaning that you can just run whatever code is inside these wrappers. Or functions can be used for input and output, meaning that you put in some input into the function and return some kind of output. Those are the only two ways to use a function, right? So in this case, these functions are being used as wrappers. So these are anonymous functions, again, used in the same way as what we had before, which was just run whatever code there is. So this hover functionality is actually another event listener. So we had an event listener before. Can anyone remember what the event listener was? Click. So what did click do? It just listens for what? A click. It listens for someone clicking. What do you think hover does? Same thing, but it does hover. So hover actually exists as a pseudo class in what other language? CSS. So if you added the hover pseudo class to an element, you can have the same hover effect, but it won't run JavaScript code. You can, however, run JavaScript code using this jQuery method called hover. So it says any code on hover over, this will happen. So let's try and do that. So let's hover over any of the anchor tags, and on hover, what's going to happen? Let's make this .css color yellow. It's kind of gross. Make it giant. Okay, alright, I'll make it giant. Oh man, I can send it. Alright, so with CSS, you can actually send it a series of parameters.
Oh, you can make it animate.
I could make it animate.
Font size. I think you could animate font size.
I can animate font size, but I just want to do a regular animate just to make things like. Yeah, but we're in the beginning. I know this is an accelerated class, but I want to go a little slow. I don't want to just like immediately step into everything. Come on. There we go. So you have to use object. Yeah. So if you want to send it a series of different properties and value pairs, then you have to contain it in. Shit, is it like that?
Yeah, the curly braces, and then the comma turns into
Yeah, the semicolon. Yeah. Okay. Okay. So then we have font size. Let's make it 24 pixels. Oh. Yeah, that should work. Okay. And now what I'm going to do is also make this color, I don't know. Code on a wafer, it should just return back to its normal state, right? So this should just be,
Probably won't do anything. It won't do anything.
once it changes to this and you hover off, then you just want it to,
Go back to normal.
yeah, so I'm going to change it to black, and let's see, like font size, like 12 pixels. Let's see. Let's see if that works. Yeah, that works. Right, so hover on, it's yellow and bigger. Hover off, it turns into these black, boring tops, right? So that's what this hover element does. So when you hover on, you can set whatever you want. You can make a bunch of other shit happen. Like I can make, let's see, I want to make something else. So I want to make this, all the divs, something crazy. Let's do something bananas. Dot HTML. Oh fuck! No, this is gonna really mess things up. So let me do it right. Let's see. Header. Dot text is now banana. And hover off, it's going to be back to Sass. Now there's a more intelligent way of doing this by me saving this value into a variable, but I'm lazy. So I hover over this, and then it turns into banana. Hover off. Dun 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 dun. Yeah. Dun 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 dun. Banana. So that's pretty cool, right? The hover element allows you to do some cool stuff. And there's a lot of functionality. You can make the whole page change entirely. So we have 2 Jquery snippets that we can use already with our understanding of Jquery so far. You can prevent anchor links from loading. So let's say that you have that click functionality, right? By default, when you click on something, it will actually go to whatever it is, right? With the method called prevent default, it actually prevents that default behavior from happening. Now, the reason you generally want that to happen is usually because you want to do some form validations, right? So this happens when you guys are using forms, so we won't worry about that right now. Scroll to top. Again, we went over this. Ajax, we won't get into that now. Animates. So a lot of times we see a lot of animations, and this is just one way of using the animate method. So animation is great for designers because you guys like functionality. You guys seeing things like, you know, do things and make things like happen, right? You guys are more like a visual more like visual people. So you guys like seeing things happen, things like that. Well, the animate function can take in a lot of different arguments. So some of these arguments include, like, you know, left top opacity, the amount of milliseconds it takes, what kind of animation it's going to be, so if it's going to be linear. And it can definitely also take a callback function, meaning that after the animation is finished, you can actually make some other code happen. So after, like, your text twirls around in circles, you can actually make another set of functions happen. And you can actually make this go in an infinite loop, so it will just continue twirling forever. Sometimes people create games just using this in CSS. So that's pretty cool. So that's some cool functionality right there. So that's a template if you guys wanted to do some animations. Yeah.
Have you ever like messed with CSS transitions?
Yeah.
So you could actually do some cool stuff just by with jQuery kind of adding and removing classes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so that's cool. The CSS is a little more much smoother, right?
CSS.
If you do a transition versus like a jQuery
That's a good question. What's smoother between a jQuery animation and a CSS animation? They're both native to the browser, but processing time might be faster for CSS, I want to say. But I'm not sure. You'd have to benchmark that.
Yeah.
But that's a good question. Yeah, you guys should test out. So try out doing transitions via CSS. So CSS has this property called. Actually, it's not a property. Transitions is part of. Is it a property? CSS transition. Is it a property? I thought it was a value, right?
You tell it you tell it what's a transition and then the time,
Let me see.
how long you want it to take.
Oh, it's still in experiment phase? I thought it was pretty solid by now. It's been out for like a year at least. Yeah, doesn't it? Oh my god, it's going so slow. Stop it. Stop it. Okay, CSS3 transitions, come on. Let's load.
Oh yeah, like hover over the yellow button. That's some crazy stuff.
Oh, okay, there we go.
Oh yeah, it's just smooth. Yeah, cool thing with these, you can actually animate color. You can't with jQuery. Without getting crazy.
Yeah, with jQuery you could, it's just you'd have to do some insane stuff.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, so CSS3 allows you to do some cool like transitions. So this is what he's talking about. Oh yeah, it is the transition property. Yeah, I haven't used this in a really long time. So you can actually make like these different transitions happen. Um, and it's really cool. You guys should check out the transition property. And then jQuery has a transition thing as well. But I think it's part of either the CSS method or like the animate method.
Which
The transition.
one?
Let me check that though. jQuery transition. Oh my god, it's going so slow. Yeah, it's part of the animation. Ooh, wait, does it have a dot transition? No. jQuery Mobile has transitions as a method, but I think otherwise it's part of animate. Yeah, otherwise it's part of animate. You guys can also make things appear and disappear, like magic. Um, and you can make it appear slowly and fast. So on is another event listener, and it takes in the event that you want. So you can put like whenever someone clicks, then run this function. So in this case, what they're doing is they're saying, okay, whenever someone clicks on an anchor tag with a class of register, make the sign up button fade, and this is called fade toggle. So you're giving it the amount of milliseconds it's going to take to fade, and let's actually implement it to see what's happening rather than me just talking about it. So whenever you guys see something, just start working with it, just start messing with it, and then that way you'll get a better understanding just by using it. So we have anchor tag. Let's just create a new anchor tag. So I'm going to create a new one called, I don't know, cool transition. Wait, I don't even know if it's going to be cool. It's probably not. I'm call it cool. Give it a classical. And let's make it fade a button. So there's a button over there. And this is terribly designed. Okay. Ugh, still looks terrible. Put a couple of breaks. There we go. A little bit better. All right. So whenever I hopefully, let's see. Oh, I need to change this to, let's see. Let's give this button an ID of, let's change that to some button. Change this to some button. Ah, god damn it. So we're still running this code over here. So I'm going to make this not run, because otherwise if I click on any anchor tag, it's going to take me all the way to the top. So now when I click on this a.cool right here, it still takes me to the top?
You get an issue when you CC out its closing bracket for a document, right?
You have to prevent default, no?
Ah, you're right. Oh wait, do I?
Yeah, because it's still
Yeah, you're... Yeah. Okay, so I'll prevent default. So e dot prevent default, right? Because if e is always event, dot prevent default. There you go. And now it appears and disappears. I'm fading away. Now I'm back. Now I'm fading away. Now I'm back. So it's pretty cool. And again, the prevent default makes the click not happen. Otherwise, you run into what we ran into before, which is that it actually just takes you somewhere. Cool, cool, cool. So we're just testing out different snippets of code, and these are just like common ones, but you guys can create your own jQuery methods yourselves. So if you guys wanted to create your own kind of transitions, your own kind of magic, you guys can do that on your own, and you guys can make it. And that's what I'm going to have you guys do. But first, I want you guys to check out plugins. So there's a ton of plugins out there. So right now, plugins exist by taking these snippets and making them way easier to use. So plugins generally, they're large snippets of code, and they enable you to run functionalities such as creating slideshows, carousels, different hover functionalities, things like that, by just adding like one method. So for instance, if you go to like plugins.jquery, there's tons of jQuery plugins available. So, ooh, jQuery UI is great. Oh, but that means you have to download jQuery UI. Don't want you. Oh no, this is just regular UI. Okay, cool. Right? Do I have to? It doesn't seem to be under UI, so that's good. Okay, so let's say that we have a jQuery plugin called jQuery UI Draggable. Now this will allow you to drag elements along. So I just download this. I'm just going to get this version. This is the latest stable release, so I'm just going to download that. I want all the functionality that comes with it. The theme I'm going to use is the base theme. That's just colors. I'm going to unzip it. And before you download it, you can actually see what it does too. So if I'm going to go back, I'm going to try a demo. It's right here on the right hand side. It says try a demo. Oh, it is jQuery UI. Those liars. So it allows you to just drag elements around. Kind of cool. So it gives you this functionality in a really easy to use way. So this is jQuery UI, and they said that it wasn't. So that means I have to install something else.
So you're pretty much just downloading more functions.
Yeah. So I'm going to show you guys how to do that right now. So let's say that you have jQuery UI. I'm going to download the CSS. So I'm going to get the min.css. I don't really care about, I guess the theme too. Structure. Do I care about the images? I don't really care about the images. So all you do is copy the CSS to the CSS. So I'm just copying that to my CSS folder, and then do I need any external? I already have jQuery. So I don't need jQuery. Do I need these icons? Oh shit, I probably do need these icons, huh? Ugh. Alright. And if they were located like that, that means they need to be in the same file structure. I could restructure their file structure, but I'd rather not do that right now. Okay, so that should be it. Okay, so now let's try and use it. So to use it, we just call this draggable option. So let's see if it works. So I'm just going to make one of my elements draggable. Let's make any of the containers draggable. So probably won't work because there's probably something wrong. Let me see if there's anything wrong to begin with. Draggable is not a function, right? Oh, because I haven't linked to anything yet. So you have to link to all these things that I just set up. So script src equals where's the jQuery? Oh. It doesn't require any jQuery? Oh, here we go. There it is.
Don't you already have it?
No. Did I put it in here?
No, I mean just regular jQuery.
Yeah, this is jQuery UI though.
Oh, yeah.
That's all I was like, ah, crap, I gotta put more jQuery stuff in here. Alright, so I just put that in there. I'm gonna link to it. And let me link to CSS as well. So link CSS link CSS link CSS. Okay, so now we have all the CSS stuff in here. So now I don't see any issues. Let's see. Oh, and look. I have draggable functionality. That's kind of crazy, right? Haha. I don't know why you'd want this, but let's say that you want a drag and drop feature. This will allow you to do that. Kind of cool though, right?
Or if you want to mess with the user.
Yeah. So this allows you to do that. And so that was super fast to do. I just, drag things along and then just link to them. And that was it.
That would be good for like a game, huh?
Yeah. So you can do games like that. jQuery UI has a ton of stuff. So that's one way of doing it. Just to go to like plugins.jquery.com. It has tons of plugins like this where you guys can just mess with stuff and it'll allow you to just download them really easily and implement them. There's also jquery.com/plugins and how to create your own plugins. So for those of you who are more advanced, so Juan, Edgar, and maybe Lucas, since you've been programming longer, I want you three to create your own plugin.
It does what, anything?
It does anything. Whatever you guys want, but it has to be unique. For Lydia and Frank, I want you guys to choose one of these plugins and implement it. So that'll be your guys' assignment. So unheap.com has some more too. They have some really crazy ones on here.
So how would you make a plugin?
There's the instructions on there.
Oh, that's it?
Mhm.
Where?
It says right there, it says how to make a plugin. And it shows you step-by-step guides on how to create a plugin. And you guys can submit that plugin too to jquery.com.
Wait, I don't see it. I'm blind. Hold on.
It says how to create your own, and it says basic plugin creation.
Oh, I see. I see.
Yeah, so that's gonna be a little complicated, but I have faith.
It's cool. I just asked you how to do it.
You have what?
I'll ask you how to do it anyway.
Oh, you'll ask me how to do it?
Yeah.
Is that what's gonna happen? I can't wait for the response I'm gonna give back. No thanks. Oh, unheap is really nice because it looks really pretty. So let's say that you guys wanted to like, you guys are designers, so you probably want like more pretty way of like looking at different things. So these jQuery plugins, you just look at it and it just looks really nice, and you can just go through these. So it's like responsive mobile, like menu plugins if you guys want really nice menus, content editors, stuff like that. These are all different plugins. So I think today's homework is actually based on that. So let's see. So the project update is you guys are going to finish up at least 50% of the styling of your web application using CSS. And instead of the FCC module, so instead of free code camp, you guys, okay, so Edgar, Lucas, and Juan, you guys are either going to implement a jQuery code snippet or implement your own functionality using jQuery in your project, or create your own plugin. It's up to you guys. Yeah, you guys can create your own plugin. And then Frank and Lydia, I want you guys to implement a plugin of your choice. You guys can do the other ones too if you guys feel like, it's not challenging enough, but it's going to be pretty challenging to implement a plugin on its own. So I want you guys to do that. And with that, I think we're going to get out early because we already went over this stuff via the video. So it made things a lot faster. Cool. So you guys are probably going to have a lot of questions. Email me and we can set up Skype appointments and we can do Skype sessions together and we can code live together as well. Okay? Like right now, I mean, I'll be here. So you guys can ask me questions. Yeah, if you guys want to stay here.